Formula One is a glamorous sport even on its quietest days. The commotion, the color, and the cash add up to a four-wheeled theater. It's a high-octane narrative that's engrossing, frequently surprising, and never dull, even if the races can be. Many memorable moments in Formula One have left an indelible impression on spectators, especially when the race concludes and you witness unexpected turnarounds. Welcome back to yet another video on our channel. We'll discuss the top 10 finest finish line moments in F1 history. Watch this video till the end. We have a surprise for you. Number 10, 1991 Brazilian Grand Prix. The 1991 Brazilian Grand Prix was a Formula One motor race on March 24th, 1991 at Interlagos. The second race of the 1991 Formula One World Championship took place on this day. With 7 laps remaining and his gearbox breaking down beneath him, Senna had no choice except to finish the race in 6th gear. Despite the rapidly deteriorating weather conditions, he won by a razor-thin margin over Ricciardo Patrese and Gerhard Berger, although he had to be carried out of his car and nearly fell on the podium. Heroics and drama that made sure it was Brazil's victory. The air was filled with more emotion than any man could bear, and maybe a smidgen of amateur dramatics. Number 9, 2011 Canadian Grand Prix. Rain-sodden races are beautiful in F1. This was one of those races with adequate amounts of drama. Jenson Button and Lewis Hamilton of McLaren collided in an unpleasant incident. JB was fined for making up too much time under a safety car and began the race in 15th place. Then the skies opened up and the race was called off for 2 hours on lap 26. Button had yet another setback when the race finally resumed. He collided with a Ferrari, suffered a puncture, and rejoined the track in last place. His fluid abilities and economy behind the wheel, along with a well-timed swap to slicks, saw him fly past Mark Webber and Michael Schumacher to pursue Sebastian Vettel, who had led most of the race. Jenson won one of the most unlikely Grand Prix victories ever when the German made an error on the final lap. It simply demonstrates that in this sport you should never give up. Until he won the race, everything went wrong, and all of a sudden, with a bit of lady luck by your side, anything is possible. Number 8, 2008 British Grand Prix. It was a Formula One auto race contested on the Silverstone circuit in Silverstone, England on July 6, 2008. All eyes were on Lewis Hamilton, even though he had almost won the championship in his rookie season. This appearance in front of his home audience cemented that we were dealing with a once-in-a-generation talent. Lewis had a lot of work ahead of him after qualifying 4th, but he got off to a fast start and immediately passed his teammate Heikki Kovalainen. But mostly it was about witnessing Hamilton's extraordinary abilities on a notoriously challenging, rain-soaked Silverstone day, when nearly every other driver struggled to keep their car on the island. Leaving his home crowd astonished, Lewis raced to the finish line, clearly dominating other drivers. Number 7, 1959 US Grand Prix. The FIA Formula One season of 1959 was the 13th in the championship's history. The 1959 World Championship of Drivers and 1959 International Cup for Formula One manufacturers were held concurrently over a 9-race series that began on May 10th and ended on December 12th. The 59 Formula One World Championship was decided at Sebring when Jack Brabham's Cooper T51 ran out of fuel on the final lap. He climbed out and pushed his car up the hill and across the finish line, leaving enough space between him and the automobiles behind him. His 4th place finish earned him his first of 3 world championships and the first for Cooper, whose rear-engine car revolutionized motor racing. Number 6, 1976 Italian Grand Prix. This one is famous because of one man who defied death for his passion, one of the greatest F1 drivers of all time, Niki Lauda. Transcending its remits, F1 became more than just a motor racing on this day. Lauda was involved in an accident on August 1st, 1976 during the 2nd lap when his Ferrari went off the track, hit an embankment, burst into flames, and collided with Brett Lunger's Surtees Ford car. Lauda was back in his Ferrari 6 weeks after a priest read him the last rites, his face still raw from his injuries and his lungs destroyed. In Monza, he finished 4th that day. Number 5, 1979 French Grand Prix. Surprisingly, this was the first first victory in F1 with a turbocharged car. However, few people recall Jean-Pierre Jabouille's victory in Renault's yellow teapot. Nope, René Arnoux was pitted against Gilles Villeneuve. If you ask me which race was the most exciting, it would be difficult to find one that stands out more than the 1979 French Grand Prix. Legendary Formula One commentator Murray Walker said many years later, "This was not an understatement if you had seen Arnoux and Villeneuve fighting for second place. With both cars overlapping each other and getting an advantage, everything seemed similar to a boxing match. However, Ferrari won second place, but both men waved to each other as they slowed down after passing the checkered flag, as though admitting that something extraordinary had just occurred." Number 4, 1971 Italian Grand Prix. This race marked the closest finish in Formula One history, with British driver Peter Gethin in the BRM edging out Ronnie Peterson by 0.01 seconds. Gethin's only win, and indeed his only podium finish, came in this race. He'd started the final lap in 4th place, opting to get everything out of his engine. The rev limit was 10,500 RPM, but he pushed it to 11,500 before shifting into top gear, believing the bugger would most likely blow up. He also gave a victory salute as he crossed the finish line, a clever psychological move that helped him maintain his slim advantage over Peterson. Number 3, 1992 British Grand Prix. The 1992 British Grand Prix was a Formula One motor race contested at Silverstone, Northamptonshire on July 12, 1992. The 9th round of the 1992 Formula One World Championship occurred on this day. Nigel Mansell of the Williams-Renault team won the 59-lap race. Nigel Mansell had an imperious championship winning season that was tailor-made to meet the demands of Fleet Street in all of its aggressive militaristic glory. Nigel won the 1992 British Grand Prix from pole position, leading every lap and setting the fastest. Exceeding Jackie Stewart's 27 race-winning records, the crowd overflowed the Silverstone banks and onto the track. Those were simpler days in some ways. Damon Hill, Mika Hakkinen, and Michael Schumacher, all future world champions, were in attendance. As one might expect, he was perplexed. Number 2, 1957 German Grand Prix. Finally, it's time to disclose the surprise as we bring you one of the best F1 moments ever. The 1957 German Grand Prix was a Formula One motor race contested at the Nürburgring on August 4th, 1957. It was the 6th of 8 races in the 1957 World Drivers' Championship. Juan Manuel Fangio won the 22-lap race. Fangio faced the Lancia Ferrari D50s of Mike Hawthorne and Peter Collins in the famous Maserati 250F. Nello Ugolini, the team's manager, suggested using less fuel and softer tires since a lighter car would be more suited to the abrasive surface of the Nürburgring, and just making one pit stop. Fangio was in the lead until a botched stop on lap 12 dropped him to 3rd, 30 seconds behind the leaders. What followed was a display of superhuman character when top technician Guerino Bertocci gave him the flat-out signal. Fangio set a series of new lap records as he reeled in the Ferraris. Despite his seat falling free, he won the race, his 24th victory in an illustrious career. Years after this race, he quoted, "I've never been a particularly good racer, but I did things I'd never done before, such as driving from one side of the circuit to the other at top speed, and that's how I caught up to them and won the race by 3 seconds. Number 1, 1988 Monaco Grand Prix. Hope you're enjoying the video as we head into number 1. We request you to like and share this video to help someone get some chill down their spine. He handled qualifying like it was a sacred experience, said Joe Ramirez, McLaren's team manager. Cena's resolve to outrun Prost reached a spiritual level. Only 3 races into his McLaren career, and Monte Carlo was the site where it all came together. He won by 1.427 seconds against Prost. The gap to 3rd place Gerhard hard burger was 2.68 seconds. I was in another realm. My circuit was a tube and I was simply going. I realized I had gone far beyond my conscious comprehension. Even when I had reached my limit, I was still able to locate more. For me, that was the limit. There was no room for anything else. Cena's performance in the race was as magnificent until lap 67 when he slithered wide into the Portier barriers and crashed out, handing the victory to Prost. After all, we are human. That's all we have for you in today's video. We hope you enjoyed it. Do subscribe to our channel never to miss similar updates. See you soon with another video. Goodbye until then.